See, when I try to incorporate new things, this is what happens. Welcome to today's episode of From the Shadow. I'm excited to have our guest today, the multi-talented Miss Haven Nutt. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me out to your beautiful spot, which I want to talk more about later.
Thank you, of course.
Yeah. So Haven is the youngest daughter of the legendary college football coach, Houston Nutt. If you're not familiar with Coach Nutt, we'll run down a list of his kind of positions and accomplishments here. So 93 to 96, he was the head coach at Murray State. 97, the head coach at Boise State. 98 to 2007, head coach at Arkansas. 2008 to 2011, head coach at Ole Miss. He won the Eddie Robinson Award in 1995. 95 and 96, he was the OVC Coach of the Year. 2001, 2006, and 2008, he was the SEC Coach of the Year. AFCA Division I AA Region 3 Coach of the Year in 98. Football News Coach of the Year in 98. And he's in the Cotton Bowl Hall of Fame. So fairly impressive if you're a football fan, especially in SEC. You know Coach Nutt. And now he is a analyst and a reporter for CBS Sports.
Yes.
Which is how we got introduced, because he
Yes.
works with my buddy Brent Stover. So thanks to him for setting this up.
Thanks, Brent.
So let's get into it. So obviously, when you were young, you guys kind of moved around a lot.
Yes. I mean, I think everyone that's a coach's kid, that's just sort of how you grow up, and it's not really different. That's just totally your norm, and it's really exciting, at least for our family. My parents always kind of introduced a move as like, oh my gosh, y'all, we're going here. And so we always took it as like, yay, this is exciting and fun. My mom never met us with tears of like, we have to leave again.
We're moving to Idaho.
No, it was like always an exciting adventure. And so that's just how we grew up. And I think we all really enjoyed that and loved it.
That's awesome. So where's the first place that you remember your dad coaching at?
Murray State is my first memories. And so many of my childhood memories are at a football stadium or at, the indoor practices and walkthroughs and all that stuff. But my very first childhood memories for sure at the Murray State Stadium. I remember walking through the weight room, high-fiving the guys, giving fist bumps, being like, good job, you're doing great, like at age 3. Like that, those are some of my first memories.
That's awesome. So I think anytime, I don't know what just happened. Oh well, my mic just came unplugged. We'll fix that. I think anytime that I think of a coach's kid, I get that scene in my head from the Remember the Titans with the little girl who's like breaking down film with her dad every night, and then she's like telling him what plays that he should run and all that stuff, and then she's like cheering for him in the stands. Is that how it was for you?
I think that was me, like times 12. I mean, truly, like I was on another level. Like I loved it. I mean, I was so that, and like a lot of my friends that knew me as a child, they were like, I mean, you really were that character, but a little amped up, like a little quirkier. Like I was like, like at Arkansas, like I was wearing like full jersey, pig mask, foam finger, like accessories. And like when I was a kid, I was on an ESPN commercial, like with my pig mask, like dancing around. Like I was just like a Big Dad fan, but like also a Psycho fan, and just super dedicated. But I also knew what was going on. Like I very much would be like, all right, what's the plan for Saturday? Like, what are we doing? Like I was very into it, into it.
Awesome. By the way, I'm going to find that commercial and use it for the promos for this. That's awesome. So did you ever, like when you're a kid, like do you ever feel like people were friends with you, like to meet the coach or like to be the cool kid hanging out at the game?
I mean, I think for the most part, well, I will say this. Me and my siblings actually just talked about this. We were discussing how our radar for that started so young. So even when we were very little, I think that we just had that in us where we could sort of radar someone who had, other intentions besides being our friend. So I don't think that we had friends like that because our radar was so strong. So, I mean, everyone we grew up with was so genuine. That's definitely something we had to kind of think about too when we were dating, like in junior high and
I was
high
going to
school.
say that had to be like for a girl.
Yes. Because it's like, does he want to get recruited or does he want to date me? Like, but again, I think we all had very genuine boyfriends.
Yeah.
But that was for sure happening. I mean, we would get notes from guys in our locker and stuff like that about it. And I think that the intentions were to just get a little closer and hopefully get recruited.
Right.
So.
Which, I mean, kind of like, does that make you feel like junk from time to time? Like, I mean,
Yes.
I mean, just thinking about that, I mean, it's like you don't value me for me, so.
Right. I think that was definitely, and especially because we all grew up playing sports and I was a super dedicated athlete. So a lot of the time there would be chatter too, which is kind of a different subject, but chatter of like, she only gets to start because, or she's only getting to play because, when in reality, I put myself through 3 days and acted like I was a college athlete. And I loved the sports that I played so much that I was very dedicated. And that was why I was playing and starting, you know, and it wasn't because of that. But I think a lot of people tried to, not a lot of people, but there was people that we went to high school with or that we played with that would sort of start rumors like that or just kind of try to tear us down. But those aren't your friends. So
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
it's amazing. It amazes me on Twitter, which is one of the things that kind of gave me the idea for this podcast was I saw this, I'm a big NASCAR fan. I saw this driver who his kid is racing go-karts and people are like dogging this kid who is like 6.
Right. It's ridiculous.
Because they're like, oh, it's easy to be that when your dad is this person. I'm like,
Right.
well, first of all, how do you do that to a kid?
Oh, I know.
And number 2, like, what parent doesn't want to give their kid the best, or if
Right.
there is? But anyways.
Well, and he's the one driving the go-kart, so if he's doing well, it's because of his abilities. It's not because some magical power his dad has to, you know, morph him into something great. He's doing it, so
100%.
he gets the credit.
So what sports did you play?
So I played basketball, volleyball, and then I did track for a little bit, but basketball was my sport, 100%. And then volleyball was there up, you know, close to it. But basketball, like oh my gosh, I just found a journal from when I was 6 talking about being in the WNBA, and I couldn't wait. And, you know, and I really did train in junior high and high school as if I was going to the WNBA.
Right.
I mean, I really believed it. I wanted to be a college coach. I totally wanted to follow in those footsteps. And I loved, you know, the idea of that path so much. And I thought it was right for me. I had an injury when I was in 9th grade. And it was pretty serious. It was a head injury, and it actually took me out of playing basketball and sort of halted that. So to be honest, that was one of the hardest times in my whole life because so much of my identity was sort of based on basketball and this path I had planned out for myself. And realizing, too, that a lot of me and my dad's relationship was really centered around sports. So if I can't play sports, how do we have a bond? How do we have a relationship? And so that was a tough point in my life for sure, is just figuring out what I could do beyond basketball.
Right.
Odds are, if you watch TV, you've seen plenty of ads for lawyers.
It's usually a lawyer telling you how great they think they are. But at the Verdoliak Law Group, it's different. It's always about the client.
In fact, all of us are actual clients, and we're here to proudly tell you how much the Verdoliak Law Group has done for us.
What impresses me most is how much the Verdoliak Law Group believes in their clients. They only get fees if they win, and they use their own dollars to take cases to trial.
It's that ability to fight for their clients and win at trial that has helped the Verdoliak Law Group recover over $9 billion, and the insurance companies know that.
$9 billion, over 30,000 clients represented, and almost 60 years in business. That's a testament to their strength, knowledge, and success.
In fact, call them with all your legal needs. Like the saying goes, if they've been around that long, they must know what they're doing.
If you're injured in a car or truck accident, any work-related injury, or as a result of a medical error,
Call Verdoliak Law Group.
where it's always about the client.
Injured? Call Verdoliak Law Group.
So I wanted to ask you a little bit about Arkansas specifically.
Yes.
So when things kind of started to go south in Arkansas, you're like 15, 16, right?
Yes,
So,
yes.
I mean, pretty like formidable years.
Yes.
And then like this is bizarre to me too. Like this guy gets your dad's phone records and like tries to make a big deal, and your mom has to come out and defend you. So like, what does that like do for you as like 15, 16-year-old girl and you went to public high school?
Yes. So, I mean, this period of time was, I think, a huge turning point for our whole family. I think we were all dealing with a very intense internal battle that, you know, we didn't talk about a bunch amongst ourselves, but it was so tough. And basically, things were going south, but meanwhile, keep in mind, we had Darren McFadden and Felix Jones on the team. We were winning. We beat LSU that year, who went on to be national champions. We had a great season. But for whatever reason, there was a lot of hate going on behind the scenes and a lot of people not wanting my dad to be the coach at Arkansas anymore. Kind of like, okay, out with the old, in with the new. Mm-hmm. And from our standpoint, we were like, well, we're winning. What's the problem? But, I mean, that was tough because I remember specifically in class, lots of whispers, lots of pointing. When kids are doing it, that's expected, but when teachers are doing it, it is just so hurtful, and then it's hard to control because the teachers are joining in on the jokes and laughing at you and making jokes about your parents, and
it's something
horrible.
You have no control over.
I'm a kid. Yeah,
right.
I mean, I have no, and I don't even understand the extent of what's going on with all of that. So basically there was rumors started that my father was having an affair with someone who was in the media. And I mean, that was just so harmful to the whole family because one, it wasn't true, but two, and especially just to kind of paint a picture what Arkansas is like, is there's really not much going on in Arkansas other than the University of Arkansas, right? Like, so the U of A is the school, and so sports are everything to that state. So our family, in a way, it just felt like all eyes were on us all the time. But during a time like this, it was just like my mom felt like she couldn't go to the grocery store because on the front page of every paper it was talking about that. And it was just uncomfortable. There was so much whispers going on. I remember right before one of my volleyball games, walking into the locker room and overhearing a couple of my friends talking about it, who I thought were my close friends, talking about it, laughing about it, and just saying, I just hope he gets fired and she moves. And so stuff like that went on a lot with me and my siblings, and it really tested who our real friends were. And I think in the end brought our family closer together, but at that time, I mean, we had to fight for our family and for ourselves. So it did bring us together in the long run.
Yeah, and it's sad because it's like once that stuff gets out there, it doesn't matter if there's any truth to it or not.
Right.
And it's almost like the more you try to defend against it, the whole, court plays out in the media.
Yes.
And
that's exactly right.
And two, like Arkansas was your dad's alma mater. Mm-hmm. And the Nutt name goes back a long way there. Mm-hmm. So what was it like when you have to leave there? Especially, because that's probably until this year, my most vivid memory of Arkansas football was those days.
Yes.
And I remember even back then going, I don't understand why Arkansas is moving on from this guy.
Right.
And, so, did you guys feel like you were betrayed a little bit in that process?
We totally felt betrayed. And when it was all said and done, my dad made the choice to leave because of, I think he was looking at the situation and seeing like, wow, we just beat LSU. We came home that night, I guess, or maybe that next morning, and there was for sale signs in our yard still after beating LSU. And, there was people hiring planes at that point, flying around the stadium saying, fire Nutt, we deserve better. And we're like,
Not just LSU, but Nick Saban led LSU.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Yes, thank you for plugging that.
Yeah.
It was a big deal. It was a big game. And so I think he made that choice because he was seeing how harmful it was to him, to the whole family, and that it was really it was irreversible at that point. I just think he saw like, wow, I remember him saying like, I wanted to be here for life. Like I wanted all of us to be here for life. We have so much roots here. But I think this damage is irreversible, and I don't think that we can stay here. And so it was really devastating for a lot of different reasons. But again, I think they also painted it as an adventure of like, we're going to Mississippi.
Right.
And so it was a really hard time. And it was really specifically hard for me because I was the only kid left in the household. My siblings were in college. So this was the one and only move I ever had to do by myself. So that made it really different.
Right.
But it was an adventure. It was really tough, but it was an adventure. And I think it definitely turned out for the best.
Yeah. So you guys, you moved to Ole Miss after
Yes.
that, which is another very high-profile SEC school. And for you, that's like your junior, senior year.
Yes.
So what's it like? Because, as a junior, senior, you're trying to figure out who you are, what you want to do. Like, how's that like for you as a person who you're trying to figure all that out and you're flung into the spotlight again?
Yes. I remember the night of the press conference where my dad said we were going to Ole Miss. This is before Instagram. There was just Facebook, and I had to log on the computer, and I got on Facebook that night. And I remember thinking Facebook was broken because I had like 500 friend requests and a bunch of messages, hundreds of messages. And I was like, oh, Facebook's broken. Like, I thought it was broken, and I just got off. The next day I got on there, and I realized it was all the kids and like all these Mississippi people that found me on Facebook, and they were like, oh my gosh, we can't wait. I'm going to be in your class at da-da-da-da-da, and I'm your year at Oxford High School, and getting all these, like an outpouring of really positive. And so it made me excited, and some of them were bizarre messages of,
Of course. Right.
There's some weirdos out there. But there was a lot of outpouring of like high school girls and guys that I'd be going to school with that were like, hey, just want to say welcome. You want to go get coffee before school on your first day? Stuff like that. So it was good, and it was exciting and fun. But at the same time, it was really a hard age because everyone, once I got there, kind of already had their friend groups. And I think I realized when I got there that a lot of the people that did reach out and a lot of the people that were trying to be friends with me really just wanted to be friends with me because of the situation and the circumstances, and it was like the new exciting thing there. So I definitely had a lonely year and a half there, but made some really good friends in the meantime. Right. But it was tough.
Yeah. You have a long list of people who want to go to prom.
Yeah. And ironically, I went to prom with no date.
Both times? Junior and senior year?
My junior year, I went with a date. My senior prom, no one asked me to senior prom.
What?
And the picture is so hilarious because I'm standing in the middle by myself, and everyone is partnered off, and I'm like way taller than everybody, all the girls. And I'm right in there in the middle by myself. Like, no, I remember being like, why? Like, oh, well. Like, So it was kind of one of those interesting experiences at Oxford High School. Like I said, people kind of already had their friend groups, and there was a big buzz. Like, they wanted to be close to me when I first got there. And then I ended up being close with a lot of people. Right. But there was just some weird intentions with some people. And then, I don't know, I kind of felt like the black sheep there a little bit.
Oh, wow. So you graduated from Oxford High School 2009. Did you immediately know, like you said, you thought you were going to be a coach before?
Yes.
Like, what made you go the route you went after high school, which was not sports at all?
Not sports at all. And people always laugh because they're like, wow, you found a university that didn't even have a football team. Like, you really made sure you were getting far away from how you grew up. And that wasn't intentional, but it's really funny how it worked out. When I had my injury in basketball, I started acting and doing film type creative stuff. And I really wanted to go to LA, and I really wanted to be on the beach, and I wanted to, I think, really take a break from sports and just kind of get away from it all. And I really wanted to be far. I wanted to be in California and just experience something really different. And I'm so glad I did. So I went to Pepperdine University in Malibu, had a freaking blast. I mean, it was a great college experience.
Yeah. So you got a BA from there in theater, media production, and film. Mm-hmm. And you started acting there, directing, producing, right?
Yes.
So you did a few films like while you were in school, right?
I did some films while I was in school, and then I did a few after.
Yeah. So let's talk about some of those. 2016 Split. You star as Heather, right?
Yes. Actually, that's a Deborah Campmeyer film. And I actually, right when I graduated college, got that gig to go to New York. So I felt like I was on top of the world.
Yeah.
Graduated, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have a film gig. Go to New York. Had a great time, amazing experience. Deborah Kampmeyer is an incredible director. And yeah, it was, went to some film festivals and won some awards and was released in limited theaters. So
Yeah.
it was a fun experience.
2019, Greener Grass, you again play somebody named Heather, right?
They actually wrote the character for me, and the name was Haven Nutt.
Oh, wow.
Uh-huh.
It said Heather on
Oh,
that. I don't know.
funny.
Your IMDb or
Oh, it
whatever. that-
did.
Yeah.
That's funny.
And you won some awards with that at the Atlanta Film Festival, right?
Yes, and I can take no credit for that. The directors are insanely talented, and I met them actually at the Nashville Film Festival. We both had short films in the same block, and they said, we just really hit it off and had a great time and whatever. And they turned that short into a feature, so they called up some people they had met on their film festival circuit. And I was so happy to get a call because, it's got an all-star cast, and it won some awards, but nothing that I had to do with. I had one scene, and I had a blast doing it, though. It was so fun.
It's awesome. 2021, the novel Haunting, played
Yes.
Maya.
That was actually shot here.
Yeah.
You know why you came here?
I assume Dr. Matthews just wanted to try something new.
How'd that guy know your name yesterday? That dude was acting like a complete psycho. Who is that? Does he know you? Why haven't you asked how it happened?
I thought it was too traumatic. There is something haunting you. It's coming for you.
There's still a guy outside my window.
Why do you want to hurt yourself?
Yes, so that was really fun. Easy to just get to work at home and shoot here. So much fun. Great crew, small crew, fun time. Horror movie.
So then you wrote and directed The Man,
Yes, Mr. Man.
Mr. Man.
That was probably my most successful short film.
1, 2, 3. Mr. Man. 4. Do you believe in ghosts? Mr. Man.
It won lots of awards. It took me to Slam Dance, which coincides with Sundance.
Right.
It's like the indie funky version of Sundance. And it won the Kodak Filmmakers Award there because I shot it on Super 8 film.
Right.
So
I saw that.
Anyway, I that's one that I still want to make into a feature film because it did really well as a short, and I would love to revisit it and make it a feature.
So do you it seems like you have this niche and love for kind of horror, that type film. Is that
Yes,
your?
I do. I've always loved horror movies. I've always loved them.
That's
So
awesome.
it's kind of my thing. It's unexpected. People never expect that from me, but it's definitely my thing.
You have me on property in the middle of nowhere now, and
I know it's begging for a horror movie to be shot here. So
when you started getting into the film stuff, did you feel like anybody knew who you were, or did you feel like you had a fresh start because it wasn't sports, or did you have any of that kind of stigma as you were looking for roles or anything like that?
I definitely felt free. Like when I went to California, there was definitely kids in college who were from Texas or from the South, whatever, even not from the South, that were just into football that knew who my dad was. And there was a little bit of that going on, but for the most part, I totally felt free from that. And I did grow up with it was amazing, but there was just moments where there was some hardship with that, with the recognition. So I totally felt free when I went to California from that. And then in the film world since then, there's people here and there that know, but it's in such a positive context that, yeah, I feel totally free from that.
Right. So your dad did a cameo in The Blind Side. Did you get to go be a part of any of that?
I was in high school when he shot that, and I was like, I was at summer camp for acting, and I really wanted to go on set. I was like, can I please be an extra? He was like, yeah, they said you can, but I wasn't allowed to leave summer camp. They wouldn't let us leave campus. Looking back, I should have snuck out of camp and gone and been in The Blind Side.
Sandra Bullock was there. I mean,
she was so awesome. And my family was all there on set and said that she was amazing. The whole cast was amazing. So
you're away at camp trying to learn how to be an actress. And your dad, who's a football coach, like, hey, you want to come be in this movie? I mean,
right?
That sucks.
I know. I'm literally trying to learn how to be an actress that I should have just gone and been an actress.
Right. God.
But he does great in that movie, by the way. Like,
Yeah.
he improv'd a couple lines, and I think he's so natural and so good.
Well, I mean, it translated to TV, I guess.
Yes.
Now he gets to mix the two. So what point do you leave LA and do you come to Nashville when you leave LA, or what how is that transition?
So when I graduated, I went to New York for a year, went back to LA, and then I just sort of hit a point where I still wanted to be creative and do film stuff and acting, but I don't know, I wanted a fresh start. I wanted to go somewhere new. I really missed the South. I wanted to be a little closer to family. And so I narrowed it down to New Orleans, Austin, and Nashville because they're all very creative, funky cities, but Southern roots. And so I picked Nashville, and I just moved here, didn't know anybody. It was just a random thing. And I really thought I would spend my whole 20s moving around, but I loved Nashville, and I ended up staying.
Well, that's awesome. Are your folks still in Arkansas primarily?
They're in Texas.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Awesome. So besides film and movies, you have some other things that you're pretty passionate about. So tell me about your personal training and your fitness stuff.
Yes. So I think that when I moved to Nashville, I sort of rebirthed the side of me that like grew up loving to be an athlete, training, personal training, nutrition, and I really had quite a journey to get there, to really love and appreciate all those things about me that I grew up with. And so I just got back into that field. I started training, and then started my own business and started taking personal clients. Did that for several years in Nashville, and then 3 years ago, I looked for lakefront property. I really wanted to open my own space to train clients and take guests in for overnight stays and retreats. And so I found a property, I bought it, I started building, and Heart Haven was born.
Yeah, so now you have Heart Haven, and which is like a retreat here in Middle Tennessee. You're like an hour outside of Nashville, right?
Yes.
And this setting is absolutely gorgeous.
Thank you.
I looked at all the Airbnb stuff like before I came, and there's so many of those, like, you know, you look for something on Airbnb and like the pictures, you know, look incredible, and then you get there and it's like, this is not what it looks like at all. And I feel like yours is the opposite of that. Like you have great marketing stuff, but I get here, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's even prettier.
Thank you.
In person.
Thank you.
So people can book a stay here through Airbnb.
Yes.
And then they can customize their stay to take classes with you, right?
Yes. Yeah. So people will come. Some people will just come just to stay. There's lots to do here anyway. There's paddle boarding and canoes and kayaks. There's axe throwing. There's an outdoor gym. There's a hiking trail, zip line, obstacle course. There's farm animals. There's lots of fun stuff to do just to come have a getaway. And then people can kind of like a la carte add things. Like, we want to do paddleboard yoga on Saturday morning, and we want you to cook for us on Saturday night, or whatever it is. And then some people come and they want to start a weight loss journey maybe, or they want to just sort of like have a weekend where they're getting in shape, or
right,
you know, starting something new, or just to really focus on themselves and their body. They'll do an all-inclusive. So there's everything from massages and facials to personal training, group classes, paddleboarding, anything they want.
That's incredible. Yeah, when I got here, I was greeted by some dogs and a goat and a multitude of chickens and ducks. It was awesome. I felt like I was back on the farm in Alabama.
Yes.
I love it. So do you stay pretty booked up? How hard is it to get classes with you?
Yeah, I do stay pretty booked up. Now, the wintertime, it slows down a little bit, but I enjoy that little break. I mean, the summer, it is just nonstop. It's, you know, there's a lot of clients in and out, and it's nonstop, super busy. I stay booked up. And then in the winter, I still see a lot of clients. And I would say I personal train a little bit more in the winter, Whereas, but the books kind of slow down a little bit, if that makes sense.
Right.
Summer is chaotic and crazy and very fast paced, and then winter slows down a bit, and I enjoy that because I can kind of take some time, analyze what needs work, revamp, and then get ready for summer again.
Yeah. So, what do you see as the biggest goal for Heart Haven?
Well, my goal is to, I really want to have multiple locations. So, actually, full disclosure, but not, because I'm telling you, I did.
It's the inside secret.
This is
you can only get it on From the Shadow.
I invested in a property where I grew up, actually coming full circle. We grew up going to Beaver Lake in Arkansas, and it's my favorite lake in the world. It's amazing. Ozark Mountains, Beaver Lake, you can't beat it. It is incredible. And I did invest in some property there, and I plan on doing another location there. So I'm very excited about that project, and the goal would be to have multiple. I would love a beachfront location, and just have these different locations where you can come and just come as you are, and there's outdoor adventures to be had, and you really just get in touch with yourself.
Yeah.
When you have those experiences, you know.
Have you been to Lake Guntersville in Alabama?
Never.
That's where I'm from.
So that
I'll have to take you there.
Pulls on your heartstrings.
Yeah, it would be a great. I mean, it's a huge lake, gorgeous. They do like the big Bassmasters tournaments there every year.
Okay,
so,
nice.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Nice.
So like when people see you out now that you're a successful businesswoman, actress, did they recognize you for that, or you still get recognized as Coach Nutt's daughter?
I'm happy to say there's an interesting mix. I mean, I would say
she's the person that kills people in movies.
Yeah, that's what I get recognized for.
It gets you all the dates, right?
I'm 30 now, so as a 30-year-old, I would say that it was
so old. So
I know. It's surreal when you turn 30. It's surreal.
Oh, yeah. That was several years back for me. So
it's a surreal moment. I feel weird every time I say I'm 30 because it doesn't feel that way. But
wait till you have a 17-year-old daughter.
Oh wow. Oh, that has to be, because I feel like I'm 17, so that has to be weird to feel like you're.
Anyways, back to you. We're talking about you.
A few years ago, I really started noticing, like, wow, people, because I'll go into Nashville and go to dinner, and someone will come up and be like, oh my gosh, I stayed at your Airbnb last summer, or remember me? I used to take your classes at Hotbox in Nashville. And so I enjoy that community that has been built around physical movement and health and wellness and the joy that brings. And so I love getting recognized for that, and I remember every face. Like, people will be like, you probably don't remember me. And I'm like, I remember every face. I'm not good with names, but everyone that's walked through these doors, I remember you. And it's just a special moment. And so I definitely think that Heart Haven has brought people together and brought joy. And I've built a little community out here, and I'm so thankful for it. And I'm so thankful for every single guest and client that's come out here.
That's awesome. You still watch football?
I do, but it's once my dad got out of coaching, it is super strange to watch it. It feels strange because I don't have a team to root for. And people always ask me, like, who are you a fan of?
That was my next question. Like, who's
you
your
can
team?
ask it.
Yeah. Or any sports team. Like,
yeah, people always ask me what my team is, and it's weird to me. I don't have a team because we're Team Dad. Like, wherever Dad was, that's who we cheered for. When we went to Ole Miss, we weren't still cheering for Arkansas.
Right.
You have to cut the ties and you go with wherever he is.
Right.
So I'm just a Dad fan. And so when he stopped coaching,
go film school.
Yeah, exactly. Go Pepperdine football. Undefeated. That was a joke at Pepperdine. They had shirts that said Pepperdine football, still undefeated, because they didn't have a football team.
The high school that I went to, they have a football team now, but when I was there, they did not.
Oh, really?
And so, like, we had shirts that said undefeated since 1924. So, yeah, I can totally relate.
Oh, my gosh.
Anything else that you want people to know about you?
That's a good question. I don't even know.
Or anything else that you want people to know or understand about the situation you come from?
Mm-hmm.
And
I look back on my childhood, and like I said, my siblings and I have talked about it so much lately. I think we're really getting to the age where we're reflecting a lot, nature versus nurture, and seeing what really made us into who we are. And, you know, some parts of us were just born that way, and some parts of us are totally from our environment. And we grew up in such a competitive environment where winning, you know, it was like, whew. I mean, we dealt with a lot of anxiety growing up over winning the game. And I remember those butterflies lasting all week leading up to Saturday, being like, we have to win this game. From such a young age, I remember thinking when we lost a game that God was punishing me for something bad I did. Like,
oh my gosh.
I was like a 7-year-old, and I look back at that, I'm like, oh, that's so sad. But on the other hand, my parents were incredible. Like none of that, by the way, was any of their fault. It was just the environment that we were in. My parents handled everything so incredibly. My mom handled everything with such grace. She got, you know, was just so strong. And one of my favorite quotes from Paul Bear Bryant is, I think there's a special place in heaven for coaches' wives. And there is, because you don't really know unless you're in it, but they go through so much. And she handled everything with so much strength and grace. And I just really enjoyed getting to grow up with that example. And I think watching her in that environment has really instilled in me how I want to be as a woman and as a business owner. And in stressful situations and under pressure, I want to handle it the way that she did, with strength and grace.
That's incredible.
Thank you.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you so much for inviting me out to your beautiful property. I can't wait to book a stay here. And I've always wanted to learn how to paddleboard, so maybe I'll come learn here.
This is the place. Yeah. I will teach you.
So if people want to find you, want to learn more about Heart Haven or your Kill People films, how do they find you?
My Instagram is heart_haven. And then hearthaven.us has everything about my business, every service. I also have a cookbook. So my cookbook is for sale.
I saw that over there. That's awesome.
Yes, thank you. My cookbook just came out last year, and so that's available on my website. So that was a really fun.
I love to cook, so I'm going to have to get this.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. Absolutely. That'll be, I'll just have to send you out the door with the cookbook. So that's available on my website.
I'll be tagging you in recipes that I'm making every single day. You'll be like,
God,
this guy.
No, I love it. People are like, I'm sure you're annoyed of getting tagged. That's like my favorite thing, is seeing people cook the things that I wrote. It's the neatest thing ever. I love seeing the tags.
That's awesome.
So, yeah. So Heart Haven and hearthaven.us. And Heart Haven also has a YouTube channel. And once you get on that YouTube channel, it's not on the same YouTube channel, but the trailers for the films I've been in always show up after. So,
right. Do you have any more? Are you working on any more film stuff?
The novel Haunting, we're going to do a sequel to that. I don't know if it's going to be this year, but it's definitely in the works. It's in pre-production for sure. Yeah. So it's been hard to find time to audition a ton over the last year, just running the business by myself.
Right.
But I really want to get to a place where I can start to audition more, because I do love acting and filmmaking so much.
And some music videos, maybe?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Well,
I love,
we'll definitely have to get you on a video.
I would love that. I love doing music videos. They're so much fun. I've done several. They're so much fun.
Oh, you'll have to send me
yes.
the videos that you've done. So.
Oh, yeah. I'll send you the Brantley Gilbert one. I have a lot of FaceTime in that one.
some BG action. I like it. Well, thank you again for doing this. I had an absolute blast and loved learning all about you. You guys be sure to go check out the website, go check out her Instagram, give her a follow, and go hit up the Airbnb and see if you can book some time here if there's anything available. So thanks again for doing this.
Thank you so much.